G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of our Talking Hawks game reviews. Coming off another win this week, which is really, really good to see. Now our second win in a row with a 25-point win against the Eagles. I'm Mitch, this is Chris. How are you, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Exciting to, two in a row up and about. So let's dive in and discuss all the good talking points of the game.
Absolutely. Thanks all the fans for joining us tonight. And if you're watching this after the live stream, thank you as well for your support. We got 2 wins to review this week, Chris, which is very, very good because Box Hill had a really important win against Werribee as well, which we will get into just a sec. But it's always a good week when we've got 2 wins to review.
Yes, thanks, Fred. Was it a crappy? Yeah, it was a bit of a crappy game.
Up and
but I don't know. I think I enjoy winning. So I just didn't quite notice how crap it was. The weather wasn't great, and that probably attributes to not having a good game of footy.
Yeah, look, it was certainly up and down. There was times it was really scrappy, but there was also times where it opened up. We kicked 7 goals in the second quarter, and we had a good last quarter as well. So it was a bit to like, bit to dislike as well, and we'll talk about that. Chris, just first of all, mate, have we got anything upcoming in the next sort of 3-4 weeks, or we just keeping that quiet for now?
No. As far as Talking Hawks goes, we do have a player sponsor night, so all the syndicate members that are involved, let us know. We've got a few tickets, or more than we expected as well. Hawthorn's been quite generous, giving us a few extra, so let us know if you're available on the 2nd of August. After the other event was cancelled, we were meant to do lawn bowls with the players, but that got cancelled because of the weather. So we're now at the MCG doing in the rider room. So I'm guessing they'll put on some light food and drinks. We get to mingle with the players. Last time we had a kick of the footy on the MCG, so fantastic night. And it doesn't cost you very much to sponsor. It's not too late to help out the player sponsors. We're nearly at 4,000, so it's been a fantastic effort from all you guys to chip in and help us out, and you get to go to events like this. So hopefully you're in Melbourne and you can make it along. So it's not too late. We're sponsoring CJ, Jai, Newcomb, and Denver, Granger Barris. So jump on board, mate. I enjoy watching these guys play and knowing that I'm supporting Hawthorn, and it just takes it to the next level.
Absolutely. Get on board that, fans. That's just all on our website and our social media, so jump on that. Do you want to start with Box Hill, Chris? I think they had a very stirring win this week. They were coming up against an informed Werribee side, and something that we touched on in the preview, mate, a bit of a bogey side for them. Come from behind win, and they kicked 6 goals to 2 in the last quarter to win by 7 points. Fergus Green, the star, with 6 goals, but including 2 in the last quarter. Did you catch much of the game, mate? Or
I had a very busy Saturday, and I had the intentions to watch it, and I missed out. So I did keep a tabs on the score throughout the day, and I was a bit worried. And like Damien Mercedes said, who came on Talking Hawks the other week, that they were, like you said, were a bogey team, and it was a must win for Hawks, especially being at home. It really needed to win that to stay in finals contention. I think you said we stayed in 9th, even though we won.
Yeah. A couple of results didn't go our way as well. So it's still 9th. Got a couple of teams above us, and that's only on percentage. So we're going to need to win a few coming home. But hey, look, we beat Werribee, like we said, were probably one that we're a little bit worried about in that 4 to 5 game run home. So we've got that out of the way. Let's take it week by week, and hopefully we can sneak into the 8 and then make a push for some more silverware for the VFL, which will be really good.
And more importantly, we touch on some of the better players for Box Hill. I know you said Fergus Green kicked 6, was it? But Tom Phillips back in form. He's probably played about a month down at Box Hill now without getting a look in at AFL level. So he's had 29 touches and best on ground. Liam Shields had 27. I think he kicked a goal or 2.
Yeah, he picked 2. Yep.
And Maxi Lynch with 43 hitouts. So it's a huge effort, and he's definitely pushing for selection. We've finally got 3 rucks, all in good form.
Yep, it's taken most of the season, but yes, we do have 3 rucks available and all in good form, because we will get into this once we get into the AFL game. But our rucks had a really good weekend as well against West Coast, so that's really pleasing to see. Another player that I like the look of was Emerson Jekka on the weekend. He's a real fan favourite when we're doing these shows. We'll always see his name popping up, especially when we're talking selection. So moved him back this week, and Andy Otten, who reviews all the players, one of the Box Hill coaches, he reviews all the players at the end of every round, mainly the AFL listed players. And he said it was his best game that he's seen him play, and that's right on time there from Colin. Thanks for that, mate. He had 22 disposals and 6 marks, and was a really, really strong, composed figure down there, which was really pleasing to see. And hopefully he gets a few more good performances like that under his belt, and he'll be pushing for selection either in the latter half of this year or very early parts of next year.
And just a quick little quiet mention to our old mate, Ollie Hanrahan, who had a quality game against us. I think he was Werribee's best player, and racked up a few disposals and kicked 4 goals himself. So well done, Ollie.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the team performance, we dominated the hitouts. We've already touched on Maxi Lynch, who had 46 of our 51 hitouts, which is really, really pleasing to see. We had 16 less disposals than them and 6 less inside 50s, and we're still able to come away with the win. So it was really, really pleasing to see the group's effort, and it has been a little bit of a hallmark of their season this year, Box Hill, that even when they are up against it and maybe trailing a side that's probably doing a little bit better than them this year, or even a side such as Werribee, who we'd sort of maybe considered a little bit of a bogey team, but really credit to them to dig in and then run away with it in that last quarter, which was led by Tommy Phillips and Fergus Green.
Yep, the never-ending question. Fergus Green, again, always good at VFL level, and he's had his opportunity at AFL level with Western Bulldogs. I don't know. I think he might be a sneaky chance, I guess, still, but he's been under the noses of all the AFL teams, and nobody's chose to draft him as yet. I think if he doesn't get picked in this year's draft, that might be playing out his career at VFL level, I think.
Yeah, he's had a good year. I wouldn't be surprised, but that we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. But the more he keeps putting in impressive performances like that, the better chance he is to get drafted and then try and push for a good AFL career. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Anything else that you wanted to touch on from the Box Hill game, mate? We've got a couple of games coming up that, as we touched on, we do need to win, but
I think we've pretty much covered Box Hill now. So yeah, it's just those players in contention to come in. I don't think we had any injuries at AFL level, did we?
No.
So yeah, it's going to be an interesting selection week this week, I guess.
It will be, which I'm sure we'll touch on in our preview for the upcoming Hawks North game on Thursday. All right, on to the Hawks game, mate. And just quickly, as we were mentioning on the preview last week, you were lucky enough to jump in one of the boxes with a few fans and a couple of Talking Hawks boys. Just give us a real quick insight into how that was and what the experience was like.
Mate, loved it. I've been in boxes before, but this time with lots of people I know, so it was even more enjoyable. A lot of the boys stayed in the box, so I was a bit more selfish and went out and watched it in the seats because I prefer a bit more atmosphere from the crowd. But yes, I spent half the time in the box, half the time out. But loved it. We being involved with AFL, or being involved with Hawthorn, we managed to speak to Clinton Young, and he agreed to swing past and have a chat with the boys. So he probably come past for 10 minutes at half time and 10, 15 minutes maybe, had a nice little chat, and we had our little question time with him. So that was, just a bonus. And we'll try and do that again and either get him back along or, other Hawthorn players to our box if you want to join us. We'll let you know next time we do that. Yeah,
perfect. And that would have been awesome. And of course, we enjoyed it more because it was a win. Always good to get a win, especially 2 in a row. And we're hoping to push for another one this week. So, main takeaways from the game, mate. We've got Luke Bruce, who just absolutely turned back the clock with 6 goals. And and probably could have kicked 2 or 3 more, especially late in the game when he doesn't get paid a holding the ball free kick, instead got turned over. But he was back to his vintage self on the week.
Certainly was, mate. The Bruce high tackle got the crowd fired up. Certainly did. Look, it helps when someone like that can stand up and kick 6 goals, especially when Mitch Lewis has been firing week in, week out, and he was a little bit quieter this week. So, and then you got C-Mac chipping in with 2, and Will Day, the surprise packet, played down forward. I wasn't aware of that pre-game. I heard the post-match stuff and said he'd been training in the forward group, but he kicked 2, but I don't know how successful it was. I wasn't a big fan of him playing forward. But maybe that's just because he's never played forward throughout his junior career. I'm guessing he's either been on the ball or back. So it's very hard to play a position you haven't played before. So well done to Will. He's still contributed in kick 2. So but for me, it just wasn't the right feel. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I thought he was good. Probably, as you said, it's probably the first time he's really had to play that role. And we are sort of experimenting a little bit there, moving some players that normally play in defence going forward and vice versa. So I thought it was okay. He did have a couple of scary falls. Come on, thanks for that.
He's brave and he just goes in hard, and it's to his own detriment. But you can't knock him for doing it. He's got lots of courage, that kid.
Exactly right. Can't fault the effort. Now, what was our other young gun that was very, very pleasing to see was Joshy Ward, who did also get the Rising Star nomination for this round.
He is very herd-like. I agree.
I wouldn't mind that. James said one of the better players to lace up a pair of boots. So no, I wouldn't. It's a good comparison. But Joshy Ward, don't want to take away from his game. 34 disposals, 23 of them kicks, 7 marks, 5 tackles, when it's 71% disposal efficiency, which is pretty good when you've had 34 touches, 12 contested possessions, and there we go, 6 score involvements and 7 clearances. Thank you, Jason. How pleasing was it to see Joshy Ward really have that breakout game on the weekend?
Yeah, it was exciting. I think we all knew he was capable of it, and it wasn't through lack of trying. He's generally gets to the right places, and it all just sort of happened for him in the one day. So, not expecting that again next week. But look, I guess it's just getting that consistency up. If he can get somewhere between 15 to 20 for the rest of the season, I'll be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, he's got that Rising Star nomination under his belt now, which is anytime you can do that in your first year or so, he's a good little feather in your cap for the next couple of years. So that's really, really impressive from him. Who else did you like, mate? We'll go through our top 5 sort of towards the end of the show, but is there anyone else that really stood out? Maybe not so much stats-wise, but just someone that you noticed at the game that performed really well?
I still love watching Blank. I keep saying it just looks like a 100-game player already, very comfortable in his skin, and just backs himself. I think I read that he had 2 goals kicked against him, so it's not like he had his colours lowered at all. I think he held his own against, Kennedy's an absolute gun, really, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean,
one of the best of all time, really.
Exactly right. Sammy Mitchell, commented that on his press conference, and although if you're looking at stats and that, you might think that he hasn't had the best game, but he's playing in his 3rd or 4th game now, and he's had a really tough couple of weeks. And on some really good key forwards. Kennedy probably the hardest test of them all, and I thought Darling was better of the 2, and Blank was mainly playing on Kennedy. So that's a good little feather in his cap as well, because
certainly.
He's very, very green, but he's had a tough stretch in the last few weeks. But I love the way he went about it. Sammy Mitchell was all praise for him in his press conference, so he definitely impressed Sam Mitchell and the coaches as well.
Maury stood up again. I think he had a pretty good game. If he can just keep that form up, our future's looking very bright.
He is. He's very versatile, isn't he? He seems to just be able to, he spends a lot of time behind, does a lot of work on the defensive side of the ball, but he also runs through the middle, and we know how potent he is when he goes forward as well. So, yeah, very, very good. The only other one I wanted to ask you about, which Daz and I have been raving about the move, which was last week, Impey forward. Probably had less impact in terms of on the scoreboard this week than he did last week. However, I thought his pressure in the forward 50, I thought was really good. And just probably things that you're not going to get stats for, but just little 1%ers and just really closing down space on an opponent when they're trying to exit their defensive 50. I thought it was another tick for him forward of the ball.
Yeah, no, like I said, with Will Day down there as well, I think they were trying to create a bit of that defensive pressure between the two of them. And yeah, that's what I think Impey does bring to that forward line, is that defensive pressure, along with Bruce. Bruce has done it his whole career. So getting back to that defensive forward that we used to have with Cyril and Puopolo. So I think maybe they're just trying to recreate that, and Impey's perfect for it. So I think he'll just get a bit more comfortable playing that role. I mean, he's been thrown around a bit recently. So, yeah, if he can cement that spot, I'd be more than happy to have him down there on a regular basis.
Yeah, he certainly fits the role, doesn't he? All those players that you mentioned. So it'll be good to see if he gets some more time forward. Don't know whether he will retain his position forward when we get Gunners and Sammy Butler back. Constant is, I think he's a maybe for this week. I assume he'll be back to training this week after the passing of his father a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully we see him back in the side. But as we've already mentioned in a couple of previous shows, that will all be up to him. So hopefully he's back on the park soon. In terms of Sammy Butler, I think he's a test this week, is he, to play? As is Ned Long.
Ned Long, coming off his concussion.
Yeah.
So both those boys, but most likely to come back through Box Hill. Maybe Sam Butler might come straight back in, potentially.
Yeah. Butler's probably the one. I think that if we're looking to put straight back in the side, he's probably going to be there. Ned Long will almost certainly play at Box Hill.
And Jai Sarong, who was initially named and missed out. So, I mean, he's got to be looked at as well.
Yeah, he had another decent game at Box Hill as well. He had 15 touches and kicked a goal. So he's certainly going to be around that mark, especially considering he was included in the extended squad last week.
Yeah.
We've also got, fortunately, Connor Downey has retweaked his hamstring earlier in the week. So he's going to have another couple of tests. We don't know if he'll play any footy again this season, but I don't think it was anything too serious, but he'll need to undergo some tests in the next couple of weeks.
We sort of slipped into this injury list without actually announcing it, so we may as well keep going with it. Chad Wingard obviously announced that he won't play for the rest of the season due to his hamstring, but he's got an issue with his finger that needs surgery, so they've brought that forward. Makes sense to get that done sooner rather than later.
Yep.
And the rest are all long-termers, are they? Frosty, Warple, Bramble all season. Tyler Brockman's back at training, which is good, and running, so good to see. Seamus Mitchell all season as well. Yep, done.
Absolutely. Cool. All right, in terms of the team performance, a couple of fans have already mentioned that, it wasn't the greatest game to watch. It probably ebbed and flowed a little bit for me. The first quarter, I was a bit worried because I'd come out last week and said we were immoral, and that they kicked the first two, and I went, oh no, if we get beat today, we're going to get slammed. But anyway, it's good that we come out with the win. So look, we won a lot of key stats, probably the most stat categories that we've won for the season in any individual game, which was really pleasing to see. Now, we know the game's not all about stats, but I'll just reel off a couple ones. We had 39 clearances. We did unfortunately get beat again at the clearances, and as we touched on, Chris, in our preview on Thursday night, West Coast and ourselves, Hawthorn, are ranked 17 and 18th for clearances. We're now 18th. They had 42 on the weekend. We had 39. So 46, I think it was actually, for West Coast. Unfortunately, now that means we are 18th in the competition for clearances. Now, when you've got John Newcomb, Tommy Mitchell, and even Jaeger running through there, it's a concern for me that we're not winning more footy around the ball.
Especially that we've gone in against West Coast without Nick Nat-Nui, and then we've got Ben McAvoy and Ned Reeves clearly winning the ruck contest. What was it?
38-24,
I think. So, absolutely dominated the ruck, yet we're still losing clearances. So, big problem. Needs to be fixed.
I think it's something that we're probably going to look to either the draft or the trade period to probably fix. And that's not going to be a solution this year. It is worth noting that we were never an awesome clearance side when we, going back to our premiership years, but we were certainly not ranked 18. So it's definitely, when you're winning the hitouts by nearly 40 and you're losing the clearances by 6 or whatever it was, it's not something that I like to see. I like to see us winning the ball out of the middle because it makes it a lot easier to go forward, and we don't have to be as I don't want to say as disciplined coming out of our back half, but our scores rely heavily at the moment on how we transition the ball out of our defensive 50. So if we're not doing that well and we're turning the ball over, we're sort of a bit of a one-trick pony. And when sides have worked that out this year, that's when they've been able to really get on top of us. Yeah.
Collingwood announced today that they're going to clear some cap space, mate.
Really?
There might be a big ruckman called Grundy available. Would you be interested?
We're
going to have to take his big contract, but we've got the money to do it.
Based on his performances in the last probably 2 seasons, probably not. I reckon maybe look to youth. How long do we think Ben McAvoy's sticking around? Probably not a whole lot longer.
Maybe 1 more year at best.
And how many's Grundy got left to go on his contract? Do we know?
He signed 7 years, I think, and he's probably only done 1 or 2, hasn't he?
2. Okay, yeah, so maybe 4 or 5. I don't know. Look, the Grundy that before we signed,
Good agrees with you.
Yeah, before we signed that mega deal, I probably would have taken it.
He was absolutely on fire.
1 and 2 with Gorney, but I don't know. Based on recent form, which we've got to consider over previously, he's missed a bit of footy now as well, and I don't think so.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's just because we get him in could be a Tom Mitchell going back the other way.
Yeah, it could be. I think Ryan's just commented. I believe it's about Mitchell. 33 disposals, only 1 clearance. I don't know if that was Mitchell or not. I think it sounds like his stat line, so I'm going to say it's Mitchell. Yep, that's probably not the return we want from our Brownlow medalist. But hey, we've been hot on Mitch. He gets a lot of the footy, but unfortunately, it's just it just doesn't do enough with it, which is been a concern for quite some time.
Alrighty, what else are we going to cover with our game against West Coast, mate?
One thing I will say,
you had some negatives. You said you had negatives. Is that the clearance negatives, or you got more negatives?
Yeah, probably clearances. On a positive, we won 3 of the 4 quarters. We only lost the first quarter, so I did want to touch on that. In terms of negatives, obviously I don't like to be too harsh when we've had a win. The clearance one's the one for me, and then even inside 50s, because if we're not getting it down there, we're not scoring. But we did win that stat, and we were above average above our season average in a lot of our key stats. So although we're not doing great in a couple of areas, we were above average in a lot of our key stats, including clearances, hitouts, disposals, contested possessions, and inside 50s. So it goes a long way to winning the game.
Wayne summed it up pretty well there. Titch first to get the hands on the ball and gets it out of congestion, but the clearances and meters gained. Yeah. Look, like I said, he gets his hands on it, gets the ball out to our other players a lot. He does handball more than he kicks, and when he does kick, they're not always the greatest. So,
absolutely. Another quick player before we get into our top 5, Chris. Finn McGuinness played a really, really solid role again on Tim Kelly. So a bit more of a genuine lockdown role in terms of when he played on Langdon and Jordan Dawson. They're probably more maybe outside runners, whereas Kelly's probably more closer to your traditional midfield, or what we'd consider a traditional tag. Thought he was really good. There was times where he got off the chain a little bit, Kelly, but that was on the back of West Coast actually having to work as a group to beat Finn and get Kelly some space. I thought he had a good game.
Yeah, no, excellent game. He nearly matched it possession for possession, I think, didn't he? Yeah, I think
He had 21. I don't have Kelly's numbers, but he had 21. So when you can play a hard tag and then still get your own footy, especially 21 touches, that's good. I think we've probably found his role. If we're going to have
Kelly had 21 and Finn had 21. So how good that?
They've squared it. Yeah, I would be keeping that as a permanent sort of role going forward. I think we found it because probably
the shark Finn. I like it.
He was very good. I do like that. Finn McGuinness. All right. Do we want to go top 5? Have you got a top 5, Chris? Or are you going to reel one off? I do have one here if need be.
I'm struggling for top 5, mate, because I did spend a little bit of the game talking and a few beverages.
That's all right. I'm gonna reel off mine. So first, ranked 5th, or if you want to say one vote, I'm going to give it to Jack Scrimshaw. I thought he played a really, really solid game. He is maturing so fast in just the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's really calm with the ball. He went at, I think it was 87% disposal efficiency, was among the top 5 than anyone that had about more than 10 disposals on the ground. So he was really pleasing to see. 4, John Newcomb. What more can we say about this kid? He is an absolute gun. Moving on, 28 disposals, 12 kicks, 4 marks, 4 tackles, and 68% disposal efficiency with 5 clearances. Jesus, a couple of times he just burst out of the middle. It was really, really pleasing to see. I've got Maury at 3. He had 25 disposals, 6 tackles, a goal, 7 marks, and 7 clearances. Again, we've already sort of touched on Dylan, but he is just getting better with every week, and I love that he can play on both sides of the footy and then even in the middle as well. I hate to do this, but I'm going to put Joshy Ward at 2. I wanted to give him 1, but I unfortunately couldn't go past the vintage performance that was Luke Bruce. So Joshy Ward, we've already run through his stats earlier when we talked about his rising star nom. Luke Bruce will be number 1 with 6 goals. Was a little bit disappointed that he couldn't get 7. Jack Rewalt was really rooting hard for him on the commentary to kick 7 because it would have been a career best for him. He's kicked 6 a couple of times, but he hasn't got to 7. So, I think I don't know the exact number, but he passed a couple of midfielders on the all-time goal kickers tally. They talked about it quite a bit. Unfortunately,
is that the Hawthorn all-time list? Was it?
I think all-time, as in just all-time, any forward. Could be wrong there. They were talking about it quite a lot in the coverage on Fox Footy. So
he'll finish it by the end of the year, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll get a few more. Oh yes. Talking about that, I predicted that he's going to kick 4 in our little preview.
He did, yes, in the preview.
Give us a little pump up there.
Absolutely. He did, yeah. He was. I think we both said 4 and a bit of a mix.
John Peck.
Yep.
Was a Hawthorn player.
Might have just been Hawthorn there. Probably makes more sense if it was just Hawthorn, to be honest, now that I think about it. But didn't watch the game too closely because of work, so I missed that stat. All right, I think we'll start to wrap it up, Chris. But just in terms of what you want to see in the coming weeks, mate, we've got 5 games to go. What's going to be a pass mark to get us to the end of the season?
A couple more wins, easy. I think, especially we've got North down in Hobart, so we definitely want to be penciling that in. Although that old new coach and team's firing could be a little bit of a danger game for us.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a concern.
Richmond's been in some pretty good form, but mind you, what did they kick? 11 goals, 22 behinds. Yeah. I think Richmond lost the game, not North won it. But the fact that you didn't name James Sicily in our top 5 is good for us.
Yeah.
Not that he played bad, but I mean, when he's been in our top 3 almost week in, week out, and the fact that we've done it without him being in the top 3 or 5 is a brilliant effort.
You're right. I did have him as an honourable mention that I forgot to mention. However, I agree. I thought he was really good and still one of our best players, and generally always is. On Sicily, how was the talk? Quickly, how was the talk?
Yes, it was good.
And could have led
that went a long way.
Yes, 68 metres. They measured it.
Cool.
It could have been if Mitch Lewis marked it, and the kick went very wide to space. It could have been a coast-to-coast goal in about 10 seconds had the kick been a little bit more efficient because Bruce was running onto it. But, hey, it was really, really good to see. Just before we go, Chris, one thing that I want to see is we've got a really important patch of games coming up in our last 5. Obviously, North next week, which we will touch on Thursday. However, we're also playing Gold Coast, Western Bulldogs, and St Kilda. Now, they are our 3 biggest losses for the year overall. Yep. So we've got St Kilda that beat us by 69, Gold Coast beat us by 64, and I believe the Doggies beat us by 45 points or around that sort of mark. So Sammy Mitchell's been talking about growth and how much they want to see individual growth like Blank and Ward this week, but also for the team. For me, we've got Gold Coast. They're all above us on the ladder as well in terms of going from that 13th to sort of 15th section to then sort of pushing for finals and then into top 8. So that's our next step, I think, is how we do against those sides because, as you mentioned last week, Chris, we're probably not a 10-goal worse side than St Kilda and Gold Coast, and we've got a really big test in the next few weeks.
But, yeah, like you said, if we can – we don't want to just improve by a goal or 2. We really want to narrow that down if we are to lose to – at least 3 or 4 at worst case scenario. And hopefully, like I said, if we can win maybe 2 of the last 4 games, something like that, or 4, is it more games? But yeah, 2 or 3 more games. If we can win a few more, like I said, and there's this nice little article, get to the website at talkinghawks.com or the socials. That was a nice little mention about the fans and talking about losing and getting a better draft pick. It's not about that. We do need to build this group, and as you've seen what Ward did last week, Connor McDonald has been getting better every week too. So we just need to keep improving and getting consistent with these kids, and we'll be up and about in no time.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I think that wraps it up. I don't have anything else to touch on. Chris, was there anything else we had to mention, mate? Or
Paul's chimed in late. 6 wins is a pass for me this season. Yeah, if we take down North this week, it'd be awesome. So that's fairly honest and where we're at pretty much. But yeah, it would be nice to finish off on a bit of a high this season if we get a few more wins.
Absolutely, and hopefully that starts with a win against North this week. We will be back for our preview show. Not too sure who's going to be on that at the moment. I think maybe Daz is a maybe. We'll confirm that, I think, a little bit later in the week.
Yep. Hopefully Matt and Daz can switch roles with us, mate. We can have a break.
Hopefully, we'll see how we go. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. We will catch you on Thursday.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy the game.